Today, I'll be doing a full breakdown and analysis of the new Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer. I was able to compare shots from the first trailer to locations in real life to deduce exactly where and when these scenes take place in the film. But enough exposition, here is the FNAF 2 trailer explained. So the trailer opens with a shot of Freddy Fazbear's poster on the wall, but what's interesting is how if compared to the one in the first movie, it seems to perfectly align with the exact same frame. However, the wall in the background is totally different. So either this is the same poster and it was somehow moved location to location, with it being damaged along the way, or they just had two of the same posters in the same exact frame, which would be very odd. And as for when this could be taking place, probably sometime around when Mike first enters the second pizzeria, which would parallel the shot from the first movie with him finding the same one on the original pizzeria. Next, we got our first look in the trailer of what seems to be Mangle's second head as he begins to power on. Now, there's not a lot we can decipher from this one shot, but it looks like it's taking place in the pizzeria, as we can see the floor kind of blurred out behind her, and it has a very grayish tint, almost like the floor in the pizzeria. But we'll come back to this scene in a minute, because I believe I know exactly where and when the shot is taking place during the movie. As the screen fades into the next shot, we see Abby riding her bike to the pizzeria, and I think I know when this is happening in the film, because I was shared some insider information that confirmed Abby will be led to the pizzeria by the puppet. Now, how exactly does this fit in with Abby on her bike? Well, the next shot in the trailer explains it, because we see the Faz Fest, a convention where many Freddy fans attend, and this includes Abby, because I think this is where Abby retrieves the Faz Talker, which I think will be the device that allows her to speak with the puppet. As we can see from the set photo, it looks like Abby takes it home into school the next day, where the puppet then begins to speak, asking if she's there, where she takes it home and she's led astray towards the pizzeria. And that's when we see her in the trailer riding her bicycle. But to understand the story going forward, we must skip ahead in the trailer towards the scene where Vanessa and Mike are talking on the front porch of somebody's house, as Vanessa seems to be warning Mike about the animatronics, saying they're out there, but I don't entirely believe that Vanessa has seen these new animatronics for herself, as I think the urgency in her voice and face would have a completely different feel. So I think she's only aware of them due to her job as a police officer, and perhaps she's heard reports of sightings of creepy looking animals with glowing eyes, exactly as we see them in the trailer. So Vanessa goes to warn Mike about what she's heard, but I don't think Mike 100% believes her, because if we look at his reaction, it seems to be a little hesitant, with him shaking his head almost like he's sort of going along with whatever Vanessa is saying, like, oh yeah, totally, I get you, but not fully believing it himself. And if we zoom into the background, we can see a car parked in the driveway, which I think belongs to Vanessa, and will be an essential plot point later into the trailer. But first, I noticed this large wall that looks to be supporting the porch's roof. So I did some digging and decided to go onto Google Maps around Louisiana, as I had a general idea of where filming took place. And that's when I found it, because after going down this road and turning left, I instantly recognized the same support beam on the porch, instantly confirming that this is in fact Mike's house, with even the driveway and trees lining up with the shot from the trailer. And we know it's Mike's because a previous shot in the trailer confirms it, which I'll explain in a second. But first, after this huge discovery, I started to put the pieces together, placing the timeline of events in a specific order, starting with Abby, who retrieves the Faz Talker from Faz Fest, and she takes it to school that next morning, where the puppet attempts to ask if she's there, where after school, she is led with the device in her pocket on her bike, and she meets the toy animatronics for the first time. But after leaving, she unknowingly leaves access to the outside world unlocked, allowing the animatronics to escape the next day, where Vanessa begins to hear sightings of the animatronics being reported. But she goes to warn Mike that morning, but Mike has had a hard time believing her. But the next shot in the trailer actually connects directly after this, as that same night, we see Mike picking up the note that Abby left that reads, "Gone to fix my friends." So Abby has gone back to the pizzeria in an attempt to fix them in some way. How exactly, I'm not sure. But about that previous shot on the porch being Mike's house, the shot of the note shows the front door, which, when matched with the house I found, is a perfect match of the door in the trailer. But you may be asking, okay, Deducer, how exactly do we figure out what happens next? Well, I believe that's simple, because thanks to some set photos, we can see Mike visiting the original pizzeria, because I believe after Mike notices the note that Abby left him, we can see the worry on his face as he realizes which friends she's talking about. So he heads to the pizzeria, where in the set photo, we can see Mike finds the Faz Fest posters plastered on the front door, and we see him leaving to get back in his car, most definitely going to the Faz Fest to find Abby. Now pay attention to his car on the left, because it'll come back into the story later. But first, if we take a closer look at Mike's outfit, even with the poor image quality, you can tell he has the same haircut and exact jacket he's wearing in the previous shot with him holding the note, which I'm fairly certain is the clothes he wears to his new job, possibly a night shift, and that's when he notices the note on the door, which explains why his shirt is different earlier in the day when talking to Vanessa. So as Mike finds Faz Fest thanks to the address left on the poster, he's attacked by Toy Freddy, which we see at the end of the trailer. So Mike escapes, and I think think either a scene in between happens, or the next night the toy animatronics attack them, because the next couple of shots in the trailer reveal what happens next. But first, the direct clip after this is of the school scene with Toy Chica, which I won't go into in this video as it's a lot to cover. So for the sake of our timeline, I believe this takes place in between the days of Abby finding the pizzeria and returning to it one of those nights. Next, we see a shot of a couple in their home being attacked by Toy Freddy, which we can confirm by comparing the shadow on the wall. But where exactly does this fit into our movie timeline? Well, I think it could be happening right before Freddy pulls up the garage door that we see later in the trailer, as Freddy roams the streets looking for Vanessa, entering each house along the way. And I'll explain why I think that is later when we get there. But first, we see two shots which I think are connected in a way. One being with William Afton down the hall, and another with Vanessa drawing her gun, which again confirms that Vanessa is still working under the law as an officer, which points back to my theory that she is hearing eyewitness reports of seeing the animatronics. But back to the trailer, I think these two scenes are both visions and her reacting to said visions of William in her nightmares. The first shot shows the doors violently shaking, which no doubt is some sort of dream or vision she's witnessing, and the other is something insane that I guarantee you didn't notice when watching the trailer, because in the top left, there's exactly one frame when Vanessa pulls her weapon out that shows William's face from the side, which honestly had me super surprised when I first noticed it. I think this fits into my timeline sort of sporadically throughout the movie, with Vanessa's PTSD of William building throughout the movie. But next, this shot I think is the most important part of the trailer that brings every piece together, because as the trailer shows the shot of Mangle breaking into the house through the window, and multiple bars only on the top being broken off. Now, where else have we seen this kind of window? That's right, Mike's house. Thanks to the Google Map images, we can see the exact same window as seen in the trailer. This absolutely blew my mind when I put two and two together, realizing that Mangle is attacking them in his house. And right after this scene, I believe 100% that what I'm about to say happens in the film, because I believe that once Mangle gets inside Mike's house, Vanessa and Abby run to her car while Mike stays back to fight off the animatronics. And that's when we see the shot of Vanessa driving and being attacked by Mangle, who punctures the windshield of the car. Now, it's possible that Mike stayed to fight off Toy Bonnie, as we see a shot of him from what looks to be outside peeping through a window with curtains, as Mangle retreats back outside to chase Vanessa and Abby, as it seems the animatronics are in search for Abby specifically, similar to the first movie. But for what reason, it's honestly hard to say at the moment. But this next scene had me losing my mind from what I discovered, because in the trailer, we see a shot of Toy Freddy pulling up someone's garage. Now, some of you may think this is Mike's garage. However, the house they used for filming doesn't have a garage at all. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, what if it's that couple's garage, the one that Freddy broke into? But it's actually not theirs either, because I know just exactly who that garage belongs to. Because if you zoom into the left corner of the screen and slowly brighten the image, you will see the model of the car, T1000. And if you search for that car, you will find the exact same car as the one parked in Mike's driveway. That's right, that car belongs to Vanessa, the same car we see in the scene with Mangle breaking the windshield. And that explains why it's in the garage with the hood open, because the car was damaged after hitting Mangle. And if you weren't aware, the Mangle scene with the car was actually leaked with some details attached to it, stating Mangle gets hit and flies through the pizzeria windows. And what other shot did we see in the trailer with Mangle in it? That's correct, the one at the beginning of the trailer, where if you brighten it up, you can see the debris from the pizzeria windows as he's lying on the concrete floor of the pizzeria. These connections blew my mind away, but it doesn't stop there, because someone spotted filming at nighttime in the neighborhood and they took a video and sent it to me months ago. And I went back to watch that video, and that's when I noticed it, because when I searched on Google for the house's address, I noticed where the garage door was and how they were hiding it with black tarp in the video, and even how wide the driveway was compared to the scene in the trailer. And what do you know? It's an exact match from what we see in the trailer, confirming that this is Vanessa's house with the garage door, with her same car parked in the garage. And remember when I mentioned Mike's car in the leaked photo of the FastFest posters? Well, in the leaked video, we can see a very similar car parked in the driveway of Vanessa's house. However, it doesn't seem to line up exactly with this car, so I tried comparing it to William's car, but it doesn't seem correct either. So my theory currently is that Vanessa got a new car, leaving her broken T1000 in the garage after Mangle destroyed it. And that's when we see Toy Freddy attacking her house. Now, there's many other shots in the trailer I haven't touched on yet, but it's honestly just because it's hard to explain them in a concisive order that makes sense with the timeline. But if I had to place them anywhere, I'd put these two shots of McKenna Grace and Tio Briones being attacked somewhere around when Abby finds FastFest, as they perhaps followed her from FastFest to the pizzeria, waited for her to leave, then used their camera equipment and snuck in to document the abandoned place. Also, the Balloon Boy shot seems to be in the pizzeria's office, so that's probably the same time they snuck in. And the shot with Spring Bonnie's hand is probably a flashback scene with him attacking the kids at the beginning of the movie. And now, for my final recap of what I think is the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 movie plot, from what we can tell in the trailer. Our scene begins with Abby going to the Faz Fest, where she finds the Faz Talker and brings it home with her. That same night, McKenna and Tio plan on going to the abandoned pizzeria that's nearby that everyone's talking about, and explore it to capture some cool footage. That night, they go and get killed by the toys, setting the stage for the horror of these animatronics. The next morning, Abby rides to school on her bike, and during school hours, the Faz Talker attempts to communicate with her, asking, "Are you there?" At the end of the day, Abby gets on her bike and is led by the puppet who is speaking through the Faz Talker to the pizzeria, where she stumbles upon the toy animatronic. She leaves the pizzeria, but unknowingly leaves the access point, whether that being the front doors or somewhere else, unlocked, allowing the animatronics to escape freely and exit the pizzeria after hours. The next morning, surrounding town begins to report sightings to the local police of seeing creepy animals with glowing bright eyes, over 7 feet tall. Vanessa is working part-time for the police, working less hours after feeling guilty and being manipulated by her father William for years. Not exactly able to fully quit her job, begins to see visions of her past, the trauma she had to carry growing up, having terrible nightmares that her father could appear any minute. After hearing these reports of sightings in the area, she remembers that could only be one thing: the toy animatronic. Because after all, she grew up in that original Freddy's pizzeria, and they're the only remaining animatronics she can think of. So she drives to Mike's house to warn him about the potential danger therein. She tells him that
they're out there, Mike.
However, Mike has trouble accepting those words as fact. He shakes his head in a hesitant manner, not exactly wanting to believe these rumors. He downplays Vanessa's words to a simple hoax, attempting to convince her by asking, "Where are they? Did you see them for yourself?" Vanessa begins to doubt herself and the eyewitness reports. Perhaps they were just bear sightings? She reluctantly agrees with Mike before leaving, however, still with some doubt in her mind that they could be true. Later that same night, Abby, after communicating more with the puppet, realizes they need help, but she doesn't know exactly what they need help with. So she goes to find out by heading to the pizzeria and leaving a note on their front door. And so far, Abby has refrained from telling Mike about this new pizzeria and these new animatronics she's made friends with, because she knows Mike wouldn't approve of it. And when Mike returns home from his nightly shift, he turns his back after entering the house, calling out, telling Abby he's home, when he notices the note that reads, "Gone to fix my friend." Instantly, that word friends gets his mind racing, remembering she referred to the animatronics as her friends. In a panic, he quickly runs out the door and hops in his car, as he speeds to the original pizzeria in search for Abby. And that's when he finds it, the Fast Fest posters, the annual event that goes on for days at a time every year, held by the man and founder of Fazbear's, Henry Emily. Mike returns to his car and heads towards Faz Fest, thinking she must have done the same after Abby was nowhere to be seen at the pizzeria. While looking for her riding her bike alongside the road, he arrives and gets out of his car. He searches through the crowd calling for her name, but when he turns around, he spots a familiar face, just not the one he was hoping for. As the toy Freddy animatronic approaches him, he quickly runs back to his car and speeds off. Noticing Abby along the road, he picks her up and drives them back to his house. In a panic, he calls Vanessa to warn her that she was right. They're after them. He closes the door and they both sit in the living room as Vanessa rings the doorbell. She gets inside, and as he explains the situation, they hear noises outside the house. Mangle's approaching from the left side window. As he crashes through, they all startle and huddle together as they back away from the window. Mangle climbs in. Another sound can be heard from their left. Toy Bonnie busts through the other window, grabbing a screwdriver from Mike's supplies. He lunges at them and Mike pushes Abby and Vanessa away. He urges them to run. As they make their way out the front door, Toy Freddy can be spotted down the road approaching. Back in the house, Mike attempts to jump around them, evading each attack. Mangle notices the car's engines as they speed off. Mangle exits out the front door and gallops behind them down the road. Mike gets the chance and evades Toy Bonnie's attack. As he exits through the front door and Toy Freddy approaches him, he gets in his car and speeds off before he can reach him. During Vanessa and Abby's car ride, Abby explains the situation, how she found the toy animatronics, the pizzeria, everything. Vanessa realizes what needs to be done. The puppet is behind them, so she turns down the road to head towards the pizzeria, but not before Mangle is in front of them waiting. When she jumps above the car and lands on the roof, Vanessa attempts to swerve to get her off, but he won't come off, so Vanessa picks up speed as Mangle smashes through the windshield. Abby ducks under the dashboard. They arrive at the pizzeria entrance and Vanessa slams on the brake, causing Mangle to fly through the door's window, where we see the shot of Mangle powering back on after being deactivated for a minute. Vanessa's car is now totaled from all the destruction due to Mangle's attack. She calls Mike on the phone and he picks him up down the road. They head to Vanessa's place thinking they'll be safe there, but we see Toy Freddy watching them from a distance. Toy Freddy then attacks each house one by one down the street. Looking for Vanessa, he attacks an older couple in their home. At Vanessa's house, Vanessa discusses the origins of the toys, when they were made, and who created them. As this is going on, Mike hears a noise, and they all quiet down as they hear the screeching force of the garage door slowly being lifted up. End scene.